So it's been 10 games since Kevin Porter Jr. was injured, and the Rockets have really looked different since then. They've changed around their offensive play style, a lot more movement involved. There's a lot of things that I wanted to see how they would react to one of their leading scorers and leaders on the court going down. And, it's a mixed bag of results. So why don't you guys tap in with me as I go through these data points, and let's see what we learned from the last 10 games without the Rockets head honcho.
Who are some of the young guys, these younger upcoming superstars that we looking at that you see and you really enjoy watching play and what they doing out there?
Man, I always say I was gonna give some love to Alperen.
Oh, that was tough. Sorry about
Sengun?
Sengun, I like
Hey,
Sengun.
listen,
I like
see,
Sengun.
people sleep,
like
but listen,
Sengun.
I called the game with Baron Davis for the Clippers, and they were playing him. I said it early on, he nice, and he did something, and Baron was like, "What?" I said, "He nice." Sengun,
nice.
go ahead.
When it confirmed it to me when he dunked on, he was dunking on a couple people.
Oh my God, yeah.
I ain't know he can get up like that. He nice. I like him. I think he's gonna be a good player. Like, he gonna be a nice player. Yeah. And I like a couple dudes off the Rockets. I think Jalen Green showing me something there too.
Jalen Green definitely nice.
Yeah.
So one of the key things that changed, obviously, in the way that the Rockets played without Kevin Porter Jr. is their play style. He is one of the leaders in multiple categories on the offense for the team. And when he went down, they had to change. And I think despite, some of the reluctance by maybe the coaching staff or the front office, self-preservation to make you do a lot of things. And when it was time for them to know that they wanted to put up a chance for them to win, they leaned into the Alperen Sengun hub offense that we got to see. So I wanted to dig in 10 games. That's a pretty decent sample size to see how players did individually and how the team did as a whole while Kevin Porter Jr. Was out. So the first thing we're looking at, last 10 games with no KPJ, the team's offensive rating was 109.8, which is actually up by 1 point from their baseline rating with the previous games with him in them. And this is actually significant. It's good. Not only were they able to sustain their offense, losing out a guy that led the team in touches. I think he was like second or third in field goal attempts and scoring and, multiple categories. They were able to make up the difference and also add a +1 to that rating. And, we'll get into the details of why a little bit later. The defensive rating took a major hit. And for both the offensive and defensive rating, I want you guys to think about, why could that possibly be? Like, think about it. So you have KPJ, he's playing 30 plus minutes, per game every night. And then when he goes down, you have to fill that void with other players. And usually who comes in for Kevin Porter Jr. for most of the season, his backup was guys like Daishen Nix. You get a little bit of Jay Gupp playing more minutes. You get some Eric Gordon lineups with him and other guys like Garrison Matthews getting more minutes. The Garubas of the world. We even saw some cameos from guys like Bruno and from Boban. So you can imagine what that does to the offense, and the fact that they're able to keep 1 point above their regular is actually impressive. Defensive ratings, the same issues. The guys I just named really would impact that defensive rating, having that +4.4, and the net rating actually dropped 3.4 points based on the changes to the starters and the changes to the bench with KPJ going down. If you guys remember the video I made called Play Through LP, one of the things that I really wanted them to start doing is to going through him in the front court more. And in these 10 games, I think he played he played 9 of these games. They actually did. And I wanted to see what the offense would do and what individuals would do with LP being the guy. And let's see. So first thing we're looking at in the last 10 games, true shooting percentage is actually up about 1%. Once again, keep in mind the construct of the team. The previous video, you saw drastic numbers, big jumps in numbers, because a lot of those numbers included Kevin Porter Jr. input. And with Alperen getting those touches, you have a lot of plays where he's involved. Now you're really making it with a makeshift group of guys. A lot of guys coming off the bench that usually wouldn't play. The fact that they were able to keep a 55% true shooting is actually impressive. So it improves to 0.8. The assist percentage went up to 1.6. A lot more passes in these games. The EFG percentage is 53%, which went up by 2%. The turnovers went up slightly by 0.4%, and the opponents were shooting just a little bit better from the field with KPJ out. Once again, consider who's going to be playing a lot of those bench units. One thing that did go up was their pace. 101.5 pace would put them currently at 6th in the NBA, which is up 1.84. I think they were like 99.6 or something like that prior to that, which had them at 16th. So you have a team that's shooting better, moving the ball faster, turning the ball over more, and defense is slightly regressed. So, to me, that's pretty good if you look at it in aggregate of, what Kevin Porter brings to the table. So for LP, those touches I was referring to earlier, in the front court, he actually, when I made that last video called Play Through LP, I advocated for him to get about 45 touches. In these games, he went up to 49.2, which is 15 higher than his regular. His paint touches went down because they don't use him in the paint like they do other centers that play kind of his play style, that archetype of the big post up hub player. They use LP more at the perimeter as a facilitator from the top of the key and different spots on the court that are outside the paint. So when he was cooking in our offense in these past 10 games, he was doing it from the perimeter a lot and initiating our offense from different spots. And like I said, touches went up 15.6 points, which is pretty significant. For that, also we were able to see that his touches along with Jalen's touches went up. Jalen actually went up 5.6 in the front court for his touches, which is slightly above what he normally does, making up some of the things that Kevin Porter would do, some of those touches he would get. And his backcourt touches went up 5.4 as well, which is significant for him, means more possessions of him bringing the ball up. Obviously, we saw him playing a lot of point guard during these times. And to me, that impacted some of the inefficiencies that we saw. And I think for him, it was a big jump in, what he was expected to do as a player, because you can see like the Timberwolves game where he got picked off a couple of times. It's really different when you're playing the 2 guard and you're being set up in the half court. And then now you're expected to bring the ball up, read the defense, make the entry pass or initiate the play and pace yourself to score and get the teammate involved. That's why it's hard. It's a hard transition. That's why KPJ struggles in it. If you're not a natural point guard, it's really, really, really hard to make that transition into doing that. And we saw JG struggle. And early on, he initiated a lot of the offense, him and Eric Gordon himself. As the games went on, if you guys noticed, Alperen started really bringing the ball up some himself. And then they started just starting the offense by just giving it to him first, which made Jalen's life a lot easier during these games. So in the 9 games that Alperen did play since KPJ's injury, he averaged 19 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 7.3 assists, which are all up from his regular. Prior to that, the games before that, his points went up by 4.4 points on only a few more, like 3 field goal attempts more. His rebounds went up by 1.6 and his assists went up by 4.7. 19, 10, and 7 is all-star numbers. Those are all-star numbers Alperen was putting up in the 9 games that he played. Obviously, he missed the last game with an illness, the Pistons game that we just witnessed, the dub they got in over there. During this stretch of games, while he was going on this all-star tier that got him love from players all around the league, 2K moved his rating up to 85. KD made a comment about him. The coach from the Wizards said something about he was the guy they had to game plan for. Anthony Edwards made the comment about how good he was. So he was getting all this love because players and coaches know this dude is nice. You look at the field goal percentage, 66%, which is an 11% jump from his baseline. And his 3-point percentage, which is wild and kind of, this is not normal. I don't think this is not even sustainable at all. But he shot 71% from 3, which is stupid, right? 51% increase in his 3-point percentage, anomaly. And then his free throws actually went down 23%. I attribute the free throw declining to fatigue. I think he got tired, and a lot of those games playing these high minutes, you would see that towards late in games, especially I forgot which game it is that he missed those free throws at the again. If you're not used to playing that many minutes and having that concentration, then those free throws are going to be a little tricky for you to be able to hit. So definitely down in the free throws, but I'm not even worried about that. But look at the numbers across, putting up all-star numbers in those 10 games that he had. For Jalen, his numbers went up slightly. His points output went up to from 21 to 24.3, picking up the load for his backcourt mate. Rebounds went down and his assists went down. And the criticism I had in Jalen in this stretch was a lot of the effort stuff, and he just seemed disengaged for a lot of these games. There are some games he looked normal, and some games he just looked like he didn't want to be there. So I don't know what's going on with bro, but he definitely picked it up a little bit towards the end till he got injured. I liked how he closed out the stretch. It looked like he was trying to find himself there. But the 24 is impressive for a second-year shooting guard. 3 and 4 on the rebounds and assists. His field goal percentage went up in this stretch to 43%, which is about his normal because he was in a slump. So 43 is about normal for him. And I think if he didn't get hurt, he would have kept on going up on his upward trend. Remember, in the video I made about should we be worried about Jalen Green, I predicted that he would pick up because that's just how these things go. The 3-point percentage went up 4%. This is very significant. And I know exactly why, because I've said this a million times. When he is working with Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green is a decent player. He's actually a really, really, really good player when they play through Sengun, because his bread and butter is not, hella pick and rolls and doing things like that. His bread and butter is coming off screens and getting dribble handoffs and different types of handoffs from LP against centers and drop coverages. That's why he was able to drop 40 something on Rudy Gobert's head, because they played the drop. They were doing a lot of DHOs, and he was able to take advantage of that. I think if the Rockets catered more to his play style, he would be a way more efficient player and just all around, instead of going through these crazy slumps that he's in. But improvement for him, given where he was before. Definitely loved what I saw from him in these games. Jabari Smith Jr., he is kind of coming off of an injury as well, but in these games he did not look great. In offensively. Defensively, he did some great things, but on the offensive side of the ball, the points really didn't change with KPJ out. You kind of expect him to take more on a scoring role, but the shooting wasn't there. Rebounds about the same, and the assists did go up because they were passing the ball as a team more. There was more ball movement, so his assists went up to 1.6, which is significant for him as well. I think that's a good mark to have. The field goal percentage, 2 points more coming from 38. It's better. You know what I mean? You only have up to go from there. What's really crazy, his 3-pointers dropped by 16% to 15.6. I think this has a lot to do with the injury. We saw the same thing when he first hurt his ankle earlier in the season. And as he got more into the season and the weeks went on, towards December, his shooting came back. So I expect that to go up as well. His free throw is also down. So there's something definitely wrong with his shooting right now. He has been in an up and down slump. I think the All-Star break is going to be great for him, just like it was for Jalen. It's going to be a great All-Star break. His body gets to recover, because these rookies are on uncharted territory right now with their bodies, with the amount of games they have to play. They're not used to this. By now, if you were in the NCAA, you'd be done with your season with the amount of games you already played. But this is where you got to push through, where your conditioning, your work ethic, your mental strength, all that stuff comes into play. I trust him to get through this. Though it is troubling about the shooting, I think he'll be perfectly fine. So a player who has not struggled, actually really flashed a lot of great things while he had his opportunity to even start a couple games, was Tari Eason. So Tari, actually, he's really putting on a case to me to start. In fact, for him to start over Jabari, or if not start, they should literally probably split their minutes down the middle, because from what I'm seeing, they're not going to use them the way I want them to be used, which is Tari playing the 3 and Jabari playing the 4. If they're going to insist on having, with KPJ, if he comes back, Jalen Green at the 2, EG or KJ at the 3, then they usually have Jabari or Tari switch in and out at the 4. I would like to see Tari get some chances to start, and they could alternate, or if Jabari has to start for the sake of his draft position, let Tari basically get the same amount of minutes he does, because Tari is a beast. And you could see, definitely something I've seen from him in this stretch of games where there's more ball movement. he is actually a pretty good cutter, just like KJ is. And he cuts and he does all the little things that you like for that that player that's going to be playing off a hub like Sengun to do. In that stretch, 10.5 points, which is almost 3 points higher than his regular. His rebounds went up by 1. A lot of them offensive rebounds. He's a demon on the glass. The assists went up to 1.3, so he added a whole assist. So developing different areas of his game. The field goal percentage went up by 10% in this time, and he was getting more usage. 3-pointers were a little down, which, you know, it's kind of like wishy-washy. He's taking a little bit more, but I'm not really concerned about that. And his free throw percentage went down by 10%. One thing I like about guys that like him, that when you give them more chances to play and more opportunities and their numbers keep going up at a steady rate, that tells me that they can upscale to be a starter and a star. That's what you want to see. I'd like to see Tari get more minutes to see what he actually is, because I feel like if a guy is giving you the same efficiency on more workload and the numbers increase, then you might have something cooking there. So I really want to see him get more shine on that. So that was really some of the standouts from the time KPJ was out. Now I wanted to look at the team and how they performed as a unit. So we're going to look at the best lineups from the last 10 games at the different numbers. We're going to look at the 5-man, the 4-man, 3-man, 2-man lineups and see how they all fared, to see, you know, maybe you can give us some idea of what the best lineup on a Sengun hub will be. So the best 5-man lineup while KPJ has been out is the lineup of Eric Gordon, Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Tari Eason, and KJ. So this is a lineup that had an offensive rating of 115.8 and a defensive rating of 104 for a net rating of plus 11.8. And they played 34 minutes together in this stretch. And this is a pretty good sample size for a 5-man lineup. We switch our 5-man lineups a lot. So you will definitely take this. That's a lot of data to look at. And to me, you know, when I look at this lineup, I look at Tari and KJ there. So that's replacing Jabari, right? So you're going to replace Jabari. Let's say you replace him with Tari Eason. You replace, you know, Eric Gordon's 3 slot with KJ, and you're replacing KPJ with EG there and at the 1. So if we put KPJ back into this lineup, we're looking at KPJ, Jalen, Sengun, Tari, and KJ. That's a nice looking lineup. I'm not going to lie. I'm curious to see if we would ever run that lineup as a starting lineup, because I think that if they can do 11.8 with EG playing like trash, and EG played really, really bad. He played bad during this stretch. He's not been himself. He has some good games, but overall his shooting has just been really low right now. So I think Kevin Porter Jr., you know, brings you a little better ball handling. Maybe the playmaking is just about the same, but you know, you just get a different look. Probably better shooting. I wonder what the net rating will be. So that's the best 5-man lineup from this past 10 games in 34 minutes. So the 4-man lineup we're going to look at is the one that features Eric Gordon, KJ Martin Jr., Tari Eason, and Alperen Sengun. So this lineup was devastating. In 47 minutes, they had a net rating of 20.2 points per possession difference from their offensive defense. Offensive rating, look how high that offensive rating is, 124, and a defensive rating of 103. So this lineup was killer. So like I said, this is without Jalen. So who's missing here? Our two draft picks, right? Jalen and Jabari. So like I said, maybe insert Kevin Porter Jr. into this lineup. You might be cooking with something, right? And you can remember what I said about the net rating from the team as a whole. When we look at all of them collectively earlier, it wasn't the starters that were losing these games. It was the bench units. That's kind of where the KPJ injury really impacted the team, because when the bench was out there, when Sengun was the hub and they were running the hub, and look at the guys that are around him. Eric Gordon, who plays great with Sengun, who's a guy that's going to get the ball to him. Tari Eason, who's a guy that's going to move, who's going to cut, who's going to hit a shot. KJ Martin Jr., a guy that we already know him and Sengun are like synergy twins. Those are the type of guys you want around him. Can Kevin Porter, can Jalen fit into this? Can Jabari fit into this? So net rating 20 plus. So they were beating teams by 20 points where they're on the court in 47 minutes. Love that lineup. Let's look at the 3-man lineup. Best 3-man lineup in this stretch was a little bit surprising to me. It was Jalen Sengun and Jalen Tate, and they played 79 minutes together. And this lineup had an offensive rating of 119.2 and a defensive rating of 108.4 for a net rating of 10.8. So this lineup was beating teams by 10.8 points when they're on the floor together. This is encouraging for Jalen to see that he can be part of winning basketball. There's a lot of criticism about him that his play doesn't lend to winning. It actually does. He just has to be with the right group of players. This group, obviously Alp is, and while KPJ was out, he was our best player, and there's no coincidence that he's in all these lineups. I don't think there's a single lineup that he's not in while KPJ was out and the team was playing, because when he was not on the court, our team just cratered on both ends of the court. And lastly, the 2-man lineup, we're going to look at the two together that were together when they played really well was Alperen Sengun and Jalen Tate for a net rating of 10.8. 79 minutes is just a lesser version of that Jalen lineup, so it's pretty much the same lineup with Jalen. And this was the best pairing together. They had the highest net rating when they're on the court together, playing. And Tate, once again, a guy that cuts, a guy that moves, plays smart basketball, high IQ. You put that around Alp, you're going to be beating teams. And look at that defensive rating, man, 102.5. That is elite defense. The offense takes a little hit with Tate, but definitely is the defense is there. And like I said, my thing with Alperen Sengun is that, to me, people are overselling his defensive limitations. Put him around smart defenders and the guy's going to make it work, right? He has enough IQ. He's our quarterback on defense. Him and Tate and KJ to a lesser extent are the guys making all the calls, letting guys know where they need to be, orchestrating it from the middle. The fact that he knows other teams' plays and where they're going to be, what they're trying to run, that tells you the dude is going to be a decent defender at some point in his career. So one of the places that I saw that we actually hurt while KPJ was out was late in games. So late in games, and what I call in clutch moments, and what the NBA calls in clutch moments. In the clutch, when in the last 10 games, we took a major drop. So offensively, we actually improved, right? Because they were playing through Alp. Coach Silas did not have an excuse to bench him, and a lot of the things that he would try to do to keep him out the game, they had no choice but to use him. So the offense was good. Our offensive rating in the clutch through this stretch was 112.5, which is 27 points higher than it usually is. But here's where everything drops. The defensive rating. The defensive rating went up plus 35.1. So and to 123.8. That is crazy. If you guys remember, I made the video about how our team does in the clutch. Obviously, Alp had the lowest defensive rating in the clutch and the highest offensive rating. He was like a plus 20 in the clutch. So the person that's really hurting us in these moments is Jabari, right? Jabari's play is not really great. If they had closed out some games with better lineups, I'm sure these numbers would be better. But a lot of these clutch games are hurting us, and Jalen's poor defense in some of those games late through this stretch really hurt us. And this is where Kevin Porter Jr. is really important, because he brings a tenacity that you want a guy to have in those moments. He's not scared of the moment. He's not going to get picked off. He's not going to get picked off. He might turn the ball over, but he's not going to, just get stripped by the other team's defenders. He's not scared to take the shot, and he's a great ISO player. So when he gets into his bag, especially when the teams can't really run plays, they're double teaming Sengun, you have him and he's going to be able to get a bucket if he needs it. And this was really exposed for us when he was gone. And to me, that is something that I really like about what he brings to the table, is the fact that he is a player that can generate his own shot, generate shots for others, and be able to play make and be able to score on really hard defense, when the other team is trying to play him tough. And, just to look at some other things, one thing I did want to look at was who was the best when KPJ was actually in the game. what lineup works the best for the team. And this is not going to be any surprise to you. The best lineup prior to him being injured for, and they only played 88 minutes together for the entire team was the Goon Squad with Jalen and Kevin Porter Jr. So this is the Goon Squad featuring Jalen, KPJ, Tari Eason, Usman Garuba, and KJ Martin Jr. And this they had an offensive rating of 115.6, a defensive rating of 109 for a net rating of 5.7. Now, obviously 88 minutes in the entire season is a limited sample size, but if you look at the different lineups, there's different lineups that have higher net ratings, but this one had the highest number of minutes played. One thing, looking up this video, we play a lot of different lineups. We really don't have a lot of data for lineups that are really probably better than the Goon Squad. There are some that have higher net ratings than the Goon Squad, but on high minutes, this is the one that kind of gives us the highest. So this is the squad that really shows a different look, and I like it because one thing I always preach is versatility. And for me, just looking at all this stuff and looking at how they did in the past few games, and when KPJ is out, it did highlight certain things for me that I can see where this team can improve a lot with the entire team together. Number one, when they play through Alperen Sengun, the starting lineup destroys other teams. Their net rating is really, really good. Where it falls off is late game situations and when teams start doubling Alp. We saw that towards the end of the 10-game stretch right before he got hurt. They started doubling him, and it would force a lot of turnovers, or it would force Jalen to have to take bad shots, or Eric Gordon to dribble the ball off his foot, etc., etc. This is where KPJ comes in. Can the Rockets find the balance where they could both play the way they've been playing and insert Kevin Porter Jr. into that system where he could be able to get his own? So instead of maybe the backup point guard roles being Eric Gordon trying to run pick and rolls with Garuba, why don't you and Bruno let KPJ get his kicks off as a PG with the second unit, let him start in Eric Gordon's position as the point guard on the starting unit, and replace Eric Gordon with Kenyon Martin Jr. and split the minutes down the middle with Jabari Smith and Tari Eason. And I think if they can do that, then they can capture the best of all worlds, because not only will you have the increased offensive rating, and I think when KPJ comes back, if they keep playing with the way they're playing through Alp, the team's offensive rating is going to be really, really high. And but you also have the late game shot making that KPJ brings. You also have the defensive versatility he brings, the length. He's able to guard bigger players, wings and guards, and also the playmaking that he adds to the team. It also allows you not to have to play guys like Daishen Nix and the Garrison Matthews of the world. You don't have to play them 39 minutes or however minutes Nix played when he had like 0 points. So these are the adjustments that they could make. One thing also I did see, Coach Lucas in that last game that the Rockets played, he was pushing some buttons on the team. He benched KJ for not playing hard. He benched Bruno for crying too much and getting angry and looking like he was just mad at everybody. He was yelling at guys, get in their face. When they were in the timeouts, the dudes looking engaged. I love what I saw from Coach Abdel Fattah during the timeouts, the way, just the conviction in which they approached these dudes. And you could see in the guys' face, the faces in the post-game interview after the game, that they really, really, really like playing for Coach Lucas. Now, I know they love playing for Coach Silas, but it's a different feeling, man. It's a different feeling. It's visible. It's palpable. You can see it through the screen that the team plays with a different intensity. And, I think the Rockets need to look at that. Sometimes being positive and cheering people on is good, and it's good for certain situations. But there's sometimes where, you got to push the right buttons, like benching a kid for a half, and he comes out and has one of his best halves in his career, like KJ did. So with the guys coming back, right now Jalen has the calf injury. He was out against Detroit. Kevin Porter's, hopefully he's going to come back with the foot injury. Hopefully Alperen Sengun comes back. They need to figure out how they can salvage the rest of this season. in a sense of development and getting data points, which is the most important thing right now, because you need data to evaluate the talent you have on the roster so you can make an informed decision about when these trades come up. We heard about the rumors with John Collins, and he might be coming to Houston. We found out that was false. There's been rumors about EG trades. All of that is cool, but I don't want to trade a Tari Eason or a KJ Martin without knowing what their full potential is. If I'm stifling that with really bad lineups, really poor development, bad accountability, and all the things that we normally see from the team. So that is what I took away from the 10 games. Run through Sengun, build around Jalen, let KPJ cook with the twos, but let him be a part of the team as a starting point guard with Sengun being the hub. I think they can accomplish all that. I think those are realistic outcomes, and I think that's the best way to kind of get everybody involved. And it's going to take Coach Silas or whoever the coach is going to be able to hold these guys accountable, use their voice, and make those guys see the vision. If they can't do that, get them out of there. You are running out of runway to make these decisions, unless we're going to find ourselves here in the same position next year talking about what we can do to improve, what we can do to be a team that's on the come up. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to make videos of us breaking down wins. So I wonder if they're going to, be able to kind of make all this work. I'm really excited to see when Kevin Porter comes back, because it can either go really good or it can go really bad. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hit the comments and let me know what you think. Do you think KPJ can be integrated into this team? Do you think that he should be relegated to the bench? Did you like the Alp stretches? Haters or not, I know some people don't like Alperen, and for whatever reason that you would hate on a 20-year-old. But what did you think about his play during those stretches? Because the numbers don't lie, buddy. The dude can ball. And if Kevin Durant thinks he's good, damn it, he's good for me too. But y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all, if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Stop wasting your time. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe now. You get all the knowledge that you get from the Chop Shop, the entertainment, the great visuals, the great tunes, all of that, free of charge. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video so other fans will be able to see it. And as you already know, as I always go, wow, keep rocking with the Chop Shop while we keep dropping that fire.
When you look at the box score, it seems like pretty much everybody contributed in one way, shape, or form. How much does it need to get a complete team win?
That's how we have got to play. Like today, we were out without our 3 top scorers, so I knew the guys would be excited because they knew the ball would be moving and they would get opportunities to play. Had to settle Jabari down early because he thought it was going to be his night to get all the shots up, but it wasn't. And I was on them pretty good, and we stayed in the game, and I thought our coaching staff did a great job of helping me manage the game, and I thought we got down to the end and just hung in there. We got up in the third and then let it get away with turnovers that led to 9 points. And it's just a good win for us. We sorely needed it because we've been struggling, and to get a win like this, really being short-handed, hopefully will help pull on us.